What's up, everybody? It's time for another edition of Table That Discussion. I am not Howard Bender. I'm your host, Jen Piacenti, and I am joined by this motley crew: Adam Ronis, John Impemba, Justin Fensterman, and Ryan Hallam. What's up, guys?
Another day, really.
Another day, really? That's it? That's all I got?
Oh, come on, Jen. You know what's going on. We're always ready to dominate. There's no other option. That's what we do.
How are you feeling, Mets fans, about Jacob Degroms, MRI?
Oh, right off the bat.
Yeah,
Right
feeling pretty nervous about that. Not a surprise. It's always the Mets. Look, DeGrom did have an elbow scare last year and came out fine. The issue now, though, is I doubt, even if he's fine, I don't see him pitching opening day on the 24th. He's not stretched out. So, and for fantasy purposes, going to be interesting to see what happens in these drafts over the next couple days, because he's consistently going in the first round, and let's see how far he drops and who's going to jump in and take the plunge and where they deem value. But yeah, definitely some nerves right now if you're a Mets fan or someone who already has Jacob deGrom, and I do have him in labor.
I drafted him last night, 12-team roto, 8th overall, and literally 20 minutes later, he pulls off the mound with his back injury. So.
All right, John, don't play lotto.
Yeah, you're as bad as me predicting Byron Buxton getting injured 20 minutes after I filmed the video. But that was a little more obvious.
I quite literally couldn't believe it. Like 3 rounds after the fact, he's out. I'm like, unbelievable. Just use the I went with DeGrom and Buehler to start it off with my first 2 picks to get like 2 strong pitchers, and then immediately lose the first guy I take. So
and Buehler is not stretched out. So
yeah. I mean, I'm okay with that long term, but I'm just saying, like, the fact that he's not hurt, which sucks. So it was terrible timing for that.
All right, well, that was a super depressing way to start the stream. I'm sorry, guys. We're actually going to start this stream. I've decided to call it, I sent the guys the topics, and I've decided to call it the Showing the Love episode because I'm in charge. And we're going to have a lot of fun. I'm going to ask you guys to be really nice, and it's going to be awesome. But first off, we have to start by talking about this NBA bubble. So players are already breaking rules. Insta models are out claiming they got invites. You know, Disney cast members apparently are interacting with the fans, but they're not having to follow any of the quarantine rules. Is this going to work, Fensty? Is it going to work?
I think it can work, especially with the recent tests that have come out. 2 out of the whatever was 322. Very good ratio. Obviously, we all want that to be 0, so it's almost a lock. But then Michael Beasley gets it, so we're going to have to see now, Jen. We're in that waiting period now to see what happens now that Michael Beasley from the Nets got it, as did most of the team. So I think that it can work. However, we are also seeing some of the players, let's just say, pop the bubble or cross the line and get warnings. And apparently that snitch line has been very, very active. I don't know if it's teams trying to shut down certain players, but a lot of players have been warned. It's almost been comical with what's gone on in this bubble, but I really do think that it could work with play getting ready to resume.
And John, what do you think? You think this is going to happen?
I mean, I think it's going to happen, but like, you know, Fancy said, it has to be some sort of like personal responsibility here of these players to understand the do's and don'ts. I was initially worried too about the whole thing with Disney reopening and the fact that Florida right now is one of the biggest hotspots. And initially when it came out, Disney had said like they would give the players this sort of like back alley access to the parks and they can do these things. And the Lopez brothers were saying they were going to go to Disney because they're like the biggest Disney fans ever. And you know, I have a friend who's done some things with Disney, and there is sort of like back alley access, underground tunnels that you can get to different parts of the park and still experience it and whatnot. So, yeah, I'm a little worried if they're going to have these like weekend tours of Disney and how these characters and employees are interacting with the players. I mean, it has the makings to be, you know, a shit show, but we'll have to wait and see if it can kind of hold together or not, you know?
What do you think, Adam? Do you think that like they need to start putting rules on the Disney cast members? Do you think it's true, these stories we're hearing of Insta models being invited to Disney? Like, what do we believe?
I mean, we knew some things like this were going to happen. I mean, the 2 stories they came out, you know, one player crossed the line, another one came out of his room during quarantine. Not a big deal. I mean, there's an adjustment period for these players just getting there. I think especially once the games get started, maybe it'll be fine. But Yeah, I mean, look, I'd probably be sneaking up models in my room too. I mean, let's be honest here.
Not you, man.
You got to do what you can.
Would the Insta model's name be Ugly Anna, though? You know, such a weird Twitter name. Ugly Anna was the girl who tweeted that she was invited.
I didn't even look him up, so I don't even know. But they could be making up stuff too. Who knows? But I think we'll get through this and they'll play the games.
Well, the only NBA player that followed her on Twitter or Instagram was Montrezl Harrell. So, it's kind of, putting it out there who may have been the individual that might have done that.
Ryan, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I've been worried about all the sports. We've seen people come down. Then Westbrook just came down with it a couple days ago. I do still think it'll happen. I think you're going to have guys come down with it. Hopefully not, because obviously it could spread very easily. And being in Orlando now has probably turned out to be one of the worst places they could have picked to put these people. But yeah, like the guys are all saying, I especially think once game starts, I think. The guys will probably be a little bit more focused, and I do think it'll happen. We might drop a few players along the way, but I think all in all, everybody wants to play. Everybody wants it to happen. So I do think we'll get there.
I think it's interesting, though, that the reports coming out about the Disney cast members. If you guys don't know, when you work for Disney, they call you a cast member no matter what you do. And there's face characters, and there's characters that dress up like, in full body suits like Tigger, but then there's space characters like Cinderella, Jasmine, all the princesses, and you have to be a certain height and you have to be a certain look. And it is Wednesday, and I don't know if you guys know the hashtag WCW, but it stands for Woman Crush Wednesday. So since this is the Show the Love episode, I gotta ask, you guys are in the NBA bubble. Who's your Disney princess? I'll start with you, Justin Fensterman.
I'm going Little Mermaid, and I'm going with Ariel. And the reason is because I really love redheads. I want to be part of her world. And also, I can save her from becoming a poor, unfortunate soul. So she's hot as a mermaid. She's hot with legs. So all around, and the red hair, I love her face very much. Ariel is my main squeeze when it comes to the Disney princesses.
Ariel's my favorite princess, too.
I think this one's going to get creepy by the end.
Really? Ariel's my favorite princess. And in honor of Rick Piacenti, I have to tell this story. So I used to sing along with Disney, princesses and Disney movies and all that. And we used to take these long road trips from Texas to Illinois in the summer to visit my family. They were super boring when you're a kid, right? There's nothing to do. You're just driving. We would drive through the night. So my dad would try to think of things to do. And we were in the car one day and he's like, Jennifer, sing that song, the song the Little Mermaid sings. And I'm like, what song, Dad? He's like, I wish I had legs. So he meant part of your world. Anyway, that's a guy thing to say, I guess. Maybe not funny to you guys. It was hilarious to me. I found it hilarious. I wish I had legs. Ryan Hallam, who's your favorite Disney princess?
I could have gone a couple different ways here. I thought about Merida from Brave since she's Scottish and I have some Scottish heritage, but I'm going my Hollywood crush into the Disney princess. I'm going to go with Cinderella because my girl Anna Kendrick played her in the Into the Woods movie. So that's her. When I think of Cinderella, I think of Anna. So I'm going with Cinderella.
You guys have not seen the Into the Woods movie. Cinderella and Into the Woods very different than Cinderella in Disney. If you ever want to see a musical or a movie about what actually happens in a fairy tale, see Into the Woods. It's Stephen Sondheim being pretty brilliant. Wow, you guys are teeing up musicals for me too. This is so great. We should do this every Wednesday. Isn't it great?
So
John
great.
and Pimpa, who's your favorite princess?
Yes, I went with the Sleeping Beauty princess there because she's sleeping for most of the movie, and you can go do what you want. She's passed out, and
Wait a second.
Well, not that way, but I'm just saying,
Sure, John. We learned a lot about you today.
There's no nagging involved. There's just, when I want to wake her up, I just have to go give her a kiss and I'll be good to go. So,
Rufy and Pemba here.
We'll keep that.
John, how do you mess up all these games somehow, some way?
I don't know. Disney princess,
dude,
man. I don't know.
I like the one that's asleep. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah. Well, if you're going to look, the man who says this is going to be weird at the end is the one that's making it weird.
Wow. Okay. So we've got one vote for Ariel because she sings and Justin wants to be part of her world.
She's hot as hell.
And she's beautiful. I agree. I thought she was so beautiful. Love her. We got one vote for Cinderella because she also has been played by Anna Kendrick on screen. And then we've got one vote for Sleeping Beauty because she sleeps and you can do whatever you want.
You don't even know her real name, John. You just called her Sleeping
I don't
Beauty.
know her name, man. I don't know her name.
Her name is Aurora.
There you go.
That's right.
Beautiful.
Okay. All right. It's okay. I do know that John does love Disney World. So I have a feeling he'd be willing to go and meet Aurora in person sometime.
Yeah, I love Disney and the theme parks. I don't know the princesses. So.
All right, Adam, it's your turn. You get the final word. Who is your favorite Disney princess? Because I know you love Disney.
Yeah, well, I don't know much about Disney princesses. When I saw this question, I was like, what the hell? So I had to do some research, and my options are very limited here. I mean, it's process of elimination. There could only be one. It's Tiana. She just fits the criteria that I look for in women.
Consistent.
Pretty simple, man.
You are very consistent. You guys Google Tiana. She's gorgeous. I believe she was in The Princess and the Frog. The Frog Princess. I don't know my Disney movies that are modern. I only know the older ones.
It's okay. But neither does Adam.
Yeah, I don't.
Doesn't really matter
which
movie she was
good.
in.
That's right. She was in that one. I remember. Sure.
Yeah. So are any of you guys worried about James Harden sneaking off with Tiana or Mulan or Jasmine? You're not worried about that?
Oh, I'm worried. I'm very worried about that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Hopefully the delay of him getting to the bubble was him taking care of some business. However, after a while, and when I say a while, I mean a few days, if you're a guy, the super soaker gets full. And that's when I'm worried in about 2-3 weeks from now, we're going to have a little bit of an issue in the bubble.
Okay. I feel like there could be an issue as well, but we'll keep our eye on it. All right, guys, we're going to switch gears just for a little bit. I want to know, if you could pick one and only one of the teams you root for to win a championship in the next 10 years, who would it be and why? Ryan, I'm going to start with you.
It's the 49ers. It's not even close. Of all my favorite teams, I've been with them the longest. I bleed the hardest for them. They were so close in two of the last 8 years. It's been a long time since I've seen one, but I have a feeling hopefully we're going to see one soon. But I've always said if I was going to get a tattoo, it would be something with 49ers. So that was an easy one for me, San Francisco.
All right. Justin, what about you?
I'm going to go with the New York Knicks.
Oh,
one
that's
of
not
the
going to
most
happen.
embarrassing
Yeah.
franchises.
We said it. I think we have to say realistically, could it happen? We should have thrown that in there, but
I
go
know,
ahead.
but this was like what I wanted, so I knew if it was what was the biggest likelihood of any of the loser teams I root for, then the Knicks wouldn't win if that was the question. But I do want the Knicks to win. When I was growing up, the first 13 years of my life, 14 years of my life, they made it to the second round of the playoffs every single year. It didn't matter what seed they were. Then, since then, in 2001 on, they've won just one playoff series. And it's been very, very disastrous. And it's made me very unbiased. So it's a good thing I'm now covering all teams. You wonder why I'm unbiased? That's the reason. I would love to see them win a title.
Now, you've chosen the Knicks over the Mets and the Jets, right?
And the Islanders, yes.
And the Islanders. Okay. Whew.
Losers
All right.
there, man.
Yeah, you have chosen yourself a rough existence, my friend.
Yep, I did.
You never know. Anything can happen in 2020. Well, not in 2020, but the way
True.
2020 is going, it shows anything can happen.
It could have. And then Degroms now has this like back injury.
Well, news is MRI came back clean.
Yes.
When did that just came out a few minutes ago?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. MRI
You heard it
clean
here
for Jacob
first.
deGrom. Don't panic too much, Mets fans. But I'm sure something else will go wrong for you, as it usually does within the next week. You'll be fine.
Yep.
Adam, who would you like to see win a championship in the next 10 years? Please give it the correct answer.
Yeah, nice segue there. Because for me, it's the New York Mets. You know, I was too young when they won in '86. I barely remember it. I don't really have those great memories that I would have now and appreciate it. As a Cowboys fan, I've seen them win 3 Super Bowls, although it feels like it was 75 years ago
Yeah.
because it was all in the 90s.
Yeah.
I did get to see the Rangers win a cup in '94, which is probably one of the most special championships for me because my dad passed away when I was 4. He was a huge Rangers fan, had season tickets, left behind some memorabilia for me. So he never got to see them win, and I kind of felt like he was there in that moment when they won. But for me, it's the Mets. I mean, I really love baseball. You know this, Jen. We've gone to a couple Mets games together. And, I've been a Mets fan since I was a little kid. And, first sporting event I attended, I've been going to Mets games every year since 1987. I usually go, it's varied, but, 5 to 10 games a year. There were times I would go 20 because I grew up a mile from Shea Stadium. So I just want to see the Mets win. I mean, just being there in 2015 in the playoffs, I was there for, I think, 3 games. I think 2 games against the Dodgers, game 1 of the NLCS against the Cubs. I've been there for the World Series in 2000. I mean, it's just electric. I mean, the fans are just thirsting for a championship. Obviously, we're hoping this ownership sale goes through to the right owners.
Right.
That's the biggest problem right now. I mean, the Mets, if they can just be run well, I mean, this team can win if they get the right pieces. So I just think this town would be insane if the Mets won a World Series. So that's what I'm hoping for. And maybe in this shortened season it could happen. But then, of course, Jacob Degroms has a back issue, and I don't know if they have enough starting pitching. I saw a graphic today. They said MLB.com. It said the Mets had the 8th best starting staff in baseball. I don't know. I don't see that. Not without Syndergaard.
Yeah, that's
Maybe they were still trying to
Porcello. Don't forget him though.
Yeah, Porcello, Waka. I mean,
what do you guys all think about the baseball championship? Like, how much would you celebrate if your team did win it? Like, I'm struggling with that myself. I was thinking about this yesterday.
Don't care, man. They're playing the season out. I'll be at that damn parade if the
Mets.
I
am.
I'll celebrate.
But like 5 years from now, I'll be like, yeah, we won the 2020. Like,
but isn't it the same as a lockout shortened season? Like, for instance, in the NBA in 1999. I mean, you don't think the Spurs, of course the Spurs, and Ryan, I know you're a Spurs guy, the Spurs won the title in the lockout shortened season. You think they're celebrating less? Hell no. Tim Duncan's like, I got a title my second year in the league.
I guess I'm talking about more about the fans. And it is different because you're not even like playing a real schedule. It's all kind of, discombobulated this year. I mean, clearly I'm rooting for my team and I want them to win. I just feel like it's gonna kind of be like,
I think because everybody's on the same playing field, it should count, right? Like no one's having an advantage over the other. Yeah, the divisions are different and everybody's got a DH, but this is the league that's this year, so the best team this year is going to win, and you celebrate the championship that way.
I think the only way it doesn't count is if the Yankees win. That's
yes, that we can agree on.
I don't think that's going to happen. Actually, I really don't see that happening. I did when they were going to have a full season, but I'm not feeling the Yankees. I don't think they have any kind of an advantage anymore, to be honest. And Aaron Judge is pulling up lame already, and I don't see it. Although Garrett Cole's been sharp in spring training, they say. But I think it doesn't matter. Again, like it's even playing field. Yeah, you'll always feel like there's a little bit of an asterisk after it, but at the same time, everybody's playing the same. And if you win, you probably have the deepest, most well-constructed team. I mean, I still think the front runners are the Dodgers because they're just so deep in pitching and hitting and all that. That's my personal opinion. But I could also see someone like the White Sox coming up and just shocking everybody. It would be fun. And that would actually probably be good for the game of baseball if somebody that wasn't a perennial favorite won and might bring some eyes back to the game. So I'm happy with whatever. John and Pimba, who would you like to see?
A lot of choices here.
Don't say Patriots.
Well,
he's going to say Celtics.
So I would love the Celtics to win the championship in the next 10 years, but I am going to say the Patriots. That's because that means life after Brady really wasn't that bad. If you think about it, we're going into an unknown at this moment with no Tom Brady. We don't know how much longer Belichick is going to be the coach. If you're telling me within the next 10 years the Patriots are going to win another Super Bowl this decade, then yeah, I'm for it. I'll buy into it. So give me New England Patriots, and likely means that their continued run of success will continue.
All right, so we got one baseball team, the Mets, one basketball team, the Knicks, and then we've got the 49ers and the Patriots because they really need to win another championship in the next 10 years.
Yep. Just to prove it.
Just to prove they could. How have you guys been doing in your Scott Fish Bowl since we're talking about football now? I want to get a little dirty, if you will. I want you to fess up.
Let's get dirty.
Let's get dirty. I want you to fess up and tell me who your last 2 picks were. Last 2 picks of Scott Fish Bowl. Ryan Hallam.
My last 2 picks, I wanted Taysom Hill as kind of like a little wrinkle into the quarterback spot, but he went. So I took Kendrick Bourne, a 49ers receiver with Deebo Samuel's injury, and he also is a big Jimmy Garoppolo target in the red zone. And I took Danny Amendola, who I think is a PPR good guy to have in the 22nd round of a 12-team league. So went wide receiver with both of my last two, one for some touchdowns, one for some reception hopes.
We lost Adam Ronis on that pick. He clearly not a supporter.
He never likes my football picks.
No. I as you know, early in the year, I said I feel like a long shot is the Detroit Lions. I think Matt Stafford coming back is going to be a lot of fun. So I like that Danny Amendola pick late. I think that's a good pick. Fensty, what about you?
All right, let me say these two names before Ronis gets back because he doesn't like one of them. Frank Gore was one of my last two picks. And I don't have too much hope for him. I mean, he did have, almost 600 yards on the ground last year. And also, something happens to Le'Veon Bell, then he's the guy. I mean, they also have LaMichael Pirine as well. However, and they signed him to a 4-year deal, the Jets. But Frank Gore is still there for a reason. He's 37, obviously signed, had multiple teams going after him. So he has something left in the tank. And to be able to get him as my final round pick, that's fine. And then Rex Burkhead was the other one. Now, a little less bullish on him with Cam Newton there, likely starting. So with that, the one thing that saves me with Burkhead, he had, 27 receptions last year? I'll take that. If I need to start him for a week, sure. It's like John was saying with the Patriots, a lot of unknown at this point. So at least try to get some part of their ground game. Michelle coming off the injury. James White, he's out in the passing game a little bit more. Then maybe Burkhead could get a little love on offense.
Yeah, I like that pick. Actually, I took Sony Michel in the 9th. I've gotten a lot of flack for it, but I felt like in round 9, that was worth the upside because, Cam Newton doesn't know the offense yet. It could be a slow start. Sony Michel does. I know I could lose on this, but it seemed like worth a stab. What do you think, Mpemba? Do you think that was too early for me to take a chance on Sony Michel round 9?
No, I don't hate Sony Michel there. I mean, I would say that Cam Newton being there is certainly a downgrade to a lot of the running backs. Because now when they get in the red zone, Newton's probably going to be that end zone guy for them. And in the past, you could sort of count on maybe Michel getting the touchdowns for you. I do like the Burkhead pick, though. And Justin and I talked about this on Alarm After Hours. A lot of people are going Damian Harris as sort of the handcuff to Sony Michel. But Burkhead has always been that tweener for New England where you can fill in and spell White when they need to. But he's also been an effective early down runner for them when they need him too. His problem has always been health. He's dealing with concussions a lot of the time and keeps him out of the lineup. But Belichick loves him. So I could see Burkhead still having a pretty solid role here, even if he's not, the starting early down back or starting, pass catching back either.
4.6 yards per carry. I mean, that's what's going to be a strong dude.
Yeah, he passed.
Yeah, I think it's a great pick.
Yeah, he's a good guy at the end of the draft. I took him myself one pick before my final two. So I took Kendrick Bourne as well for the same reasons that Ryan said. End zone threat, and a lot of people are going with Ayuk as the possible guy there, and I've seen others taken, but I think Bourne, at least in that offense, is some credibility there already. And then I took Josh Gordon, who was sort of my flash in the pan dart throw play again. Who knows when he comes back, if he's suspended, or where he's going to end up. I think if he signs with a team or he's still with Seattle. I even forget if he was still just suspended with them or not. So I think when he's eligible to play, he's going to land somewhere. And I mean, he's shown the ability to still be effective. He just needs to be able to stay on the field. So, maybe if he is a free agent when he comes back, he's the one that goes and signs in Green Bay. Who knows?
Did you guys see Devonta Freeman and Antonio Brown go in your leagues?
Yep.
Yeah, Brown went early in mine, or earlier.
Yeah.
I expected.
Brown went round 13 in mine, but I wasn't sure if Devonta Freeman went in everyone's league.
I think he went 19th round in mine. Yep. He went pretty late, but he did go.
Some of you guys are still drafting, so we're trying to give you ideas of people that you may be able to get in those last 2 rounds that might feel a little icky, but could end up being, a good dart throw. Adam, who were your last 2 picks?
Jamal Williams in 21 and Trent Taylor in round 22.
Jamal Williams, that's a great one. Around 21.
Yeah, I was actually surprised he was still there. I understand why people are down on him, but if something happens to Aaron Jones, he should play a role with A.J. Dillon. So I think Williams surprised me last year. I wasn't very high on him, but he did look better at times compared to recent seasons. And, he can't catch the football, and they will use him. So, again, 21st round, not expecting much. But if an injury strikes, I was surprised that he lasted as long as he did. He was the 76th running back off the board in my draft. So that was a stash. And then Trent Taylor, could get some time there in the slot for San Francisco with Deebo Samuel being out. And Taylor was looking good in mini camps over the last couple of years, and then had the injury last year and missed the whole year. So that's why I took him there.
I like it. So, guys, this was actually just a big ploy by me because I can't tell you my last 2 draft picks because we're not there yet.
Oh, my God. I saw Grande was in the 15th round on Twitter today. I would have lost my mind if I was in the 15th round after a week and a half.
Yeah, we've had sometimes we had timeouts. We've had people take 4 or 5 hours, and it's fine. What you're signing up for when you get into 8-hour drafts, so it's cool. But the only thing is, I usually do 2 rounds of pre-draft, and what's annoying is when it's going really slowly, and then all of a sudden there's a run, and it goes through a whole bunch of picks overnight, and I'm on the West Coast, and I wake up and I end up with Chris Conley.
I like Chris Conley.
So there's that. It's actually okay. It wasn't the worst, but it wouldn't have been who I would have taken right after Corey Davis because I didn't have time to reorder my queue.
Yeah, my draft finished on Friday.
Yeah.
I think mine on Saturday. Mine went pretty fast. I liked my group this year. I've been in one like yours the first 2 years. So the way mine went, I had one of those DM groups. I'm like, I love all of you people because this is actually moving, and I've been in snail's pace the first 2 years. So it was nice to be with a good group.
My first year, I had somebody that was in Australia, and that was rough. Opposite time zones. So
yeah, that's hard. But I'm hopeful that we'll finish up in the next couple of days. Come on, Care Bears, we can do this. I want you guys, because this is the Show the Love episode, we're going to go on to, I want you to give me a player. It doesn't matter what sport, but I want you to tell me a player that just doesn't get the love that they deserve. I'm going to start with you, Adam.
I'm going to go with Sam Hilliard in fantasy baseball for the Rockies.
Yeah.
I drafted him. I think it was the Great Fantasy Baseball Invitational. So even at that point, there was probably more risk because we didn't know exactly what his role would be. We also didn't know at that time that there would be a DH in the National League. But I think he's going to get the playing time now, and he's got some speed and some power. I mean, between AAA and the majors last year, he had 42 homers, 34 steals in 153 games. And Ian Desmond opting out, that certainly opens up more opportunity for him. We know how the Rockies can be a little irrational with some of the way they play guys, but I have to think now that he does get a good amount of playing time. Maybe he sits against some tough lefties, but the DH certainly helps. We'll have to see, though, about Brendan Rodgers. Garrett Hampson's in the mix, so they still have a lot of guys to mix and match. I would think Murphy gets the DH. McMahon plays some first base, so you'll have Hampson, Rodgers, Hilliard out there. I know they have Tapia too, but Hilliard's the guy that I'm going to be making a push for, playing in cores, having that power and speed. So it's Sam Hilliard for me.
I like Sam Hilliard a lot too, because remember, guys, they have 30-man
what's your max
rosters
bid on Tuesday in the auction we're in together?
We're going to talk about auctions later, but we're not going to give away any of Jen's strategies because she's the host.
Okay. Well, I'll just know that you're going to be bidding up Astros.
Yes, I will be bidding up Astros. I don't actually want any of them, but I'm going to bid them up.
Yeah, we believe that.
Yeah, we are in an auction on Tuesday, and we're going to talk about auction strategies after this because I need to figure out what Adams are going to be. Again, it's so much fun when I'm in charge.
Yeah.
John and Pimba, who is a player that you believe deserves a lot more love?
I went with Robert Woods. I'm just seeing him fall in drafts for whatever reason. Going around 6, 7 in some drafts that I've been in.
Those got to be 10-team leagues.
No, I've done 12-team best balls, and he's dropping to me.
On what site? I got to join in these sites.
Yeah, geez, everything I've seen is going up.
And his ADP is 67.5, and I've seen him fall later than that in best ball 10s. I mean, Swear to God, I've been getting
maybe because I'm taking him fourth round. He doesn't.
Yeah, maybe it's. I don't. But this is my thing. I don't know why. I even wrote about it recently in one of the recaps that I did. I don't get it. The guy is averaging like 1,100 plus yards per season since he's joined per 16 games since going to the Rams. Last year's lack of touchdowns certainly, maybe he's drawing back a little bit, but I mean, you got to figure he's averaging around 5 touchdowns a game season as well for them. So I thought Robert Woods is getting a little underlooked here and should be drafted, maybe end of round 3, early round 4, and said he's going 2 rounds later. So Robert Woods is where I'm looking.
Wow. Yeah. If you guys are sleeping on Robert Woods, just stop. It is pretty incredible that anybody would be. I don't understand why that would be happening. So you guys go get Robert Woods. Justin Finsterman, who deserves more love?
I think Jared Cook of the Saints, still 9 touchdowns with an injured Drew Brees. We've been talking a lot about drafts in the industry with tight end premium. I'm hardly even hearing about this guy, so I actually looked from the high stakes perspective in his ADP. 115, 10th round value. I'll take this guy as my starting tight end. Dollar value tight end. Give him to me all day. And I'm expecting him, he had 65 targets, expecting him to have a few more, maybe even getting up to 70. And knowing that when Drew Brees came back, you saw more touchdowns the second half of the season. I love Jared Cook. Yes, my tight end 115 ADP, too good.
It's true. We haven't heard a lot about Jared Cook. Anybody have an issue with that? You guys think Jared Cook needs?
No, I'm the opposite. I think he's completely overvalued.
I had a feeling.
No, I do.
I knew that was coming.
He was very, he had 9 touchdowns on 43 receptions. That's definitely not going to repeat. And even when Brees came back, he still had some down games that were boosted by touchdowns. I mean, look at his last few games: 3 for 85, 2 for 64, 4 for 54, 3 for 84, and 2 for 44. I mean, it was all based on touchdowns. And you could tell me the Saints offense is great. It is, but I don't think you could depend on 9 touchdowns again. He's also a little bit older. He's been banged up throughout his career. I mean, he's been a perennial disappointment throughout his career. I've always liked him, and I liked his talent. I've drafted him, but I'm not drafting him as a tight end 1. There's just no way. You bring in Emmanuel Sanders, who could take a little bit away. Kamara wasn't completely healthy. We know Thomas is going to gobble up a lot. I'm not on Jared Cook.
You can't say he's been a perennial disappointment if he's had 2 seasons like he has the last 2 seasons. Because he had 900 yards 2 years ago.
He's been in the league since 22.
Bro,
there were high expectations for him. The guy, he's been a disappointment in his career. People expected more out of him.
Understood. But last year, when looking at what he did actually 2 years ago, almost 900 yards and then 9 touchdowns last year, you can't say he's a perennial disappointment when he's had 2 good years in a row.
You're going to just glare over the years where he had no touchdown, 1, 2, 3. I'm talking about his entire career, not the last 2 years.
All right, I'm just saying the last 2 years, he hasn't been a disappointment. You said perennial disappointment. He has not been a disappointment the last 2 years.
For his entire career. I didn't say 2 years. Over his whole career. How many times have people expected big things from Jared Cook, and it's never happened until the last 2 years?
You're absolutely right, but I'm looking at now the last not 1 year of sample size, but 2.
Yeah, but again, last year's sample is 9 touchdowns on 43 receptions. It doesn't take a math major, and I know you're not great at math, Justin, to figure out that's not going to happen again.
Are we going to talk about SAT scores again? Let me ask you this, Adam. If you were in a corner and I said you have to take either Jared Cook or O.J. Howard, who would you take?
Oh, come on. I mean, that's easy. You're going to take Cook. He has at least a role on his offense. O.J. Howard is, even though we'll probably be on the field a lot of 2 tight end sets, Gronkowski's going to still be the preference. You got Evans and Godwin in the back. So, yeah, but I have Cook ranked pretty low in my fantasy alarm rankings. So, and I have started to see him drop a little bit recently, though. But I think most people still rank him as a tight end 1. I don't.
All right, there you go. So, Brian Hallam, who's the player that you think needs more love?
I'm going with Anthony Miller of the Chicago Bears. He still went in like the 12th round of my fishbowl. It's like the 48th receiver off the board. I think he deserves more love than that. I think he's going to have a pretty good season. Had some great games last year. Clearly the number 2 receiver for the Bears. Hopefully Nick Foles brings a little more stability to the passing game this year. And I think Miller's in for a pretty good year, not getting the love or the ADP that he deserves.
I think Adam Ronis agrees with you on that one. I know he's been sniped a few times. I actually got Anthony Miller in my Scott Fishbowl draft. I'm not sure what round it was. I could check, but I think it was round 12 or 13. And that is incredible value. I mean, he is the number 2 receiver, guys. The person I also think needs to get more love is Marvin Jones Jr. I've seen him fall really late. I got him really late in Scott Fishbowl as well. And again, this is a person that should have a great quarterback under center that's been consistent. I know he's old. I know he's boring, but I think he needs a little more love. Unless you're drafting in a league with me, then definitely don't take Marvin Jones or Anthony Miller. You don't want those guys. All right, let's talk about drafts. As Adam mentioned, we have an auction draft coming up next Tuesday. The Gotham Diamond District, it was postponed. We never originally drafted our baseball team, so we are starting from scratch. We are starting with the idea of a 60-game season with new strategies. Really cool people in this draft with us. Derek Van Riper, Rick Wolf, and Glenn Colton, of course. Steve Cozzolino, Nando DeFino. Just the list goes on and on.
That's right.
Alex Fast joined this year.
Don't forget.
Adam Ronis is in this one.
No, he's Nando DeFino. I'm in this draft.
Oh, that's a good Nando DeFino
I know. I've been told that many times. Justin just found out a few weeks ago.
So I want you each to go around the room. We'll leave Adam for last. And give me your best auction draft strategy. Ryan, I'm going to start with you.
Well, back when I first started doing auctions, I was always the person at the end that you tended to have the most money and didn't really pay up for the stars. And then by the end, I didn't really care for my roster, nor do very well. So I have completely changed my strategy over time. And I'm not saying unload your wallet in the first 5 minutes, but you got to have some stars. Don't be the guy who's getting middle-of-range guys for $3 because nobody has any money left because you can't win with an entire roster of middle-of-range guys. Got to spend for some stars. And there's a lot of good dollar guys at the end. So not saying stars and scrubs, but you can't go middle of the road and win a league, in my opinion.
All right. I think Fancy is going to agree with you on that. I know he has strong opinions about whether or not you should have the hammer in auctions. So, Fancy, do you want to talk a little bit about that? And then also one of your favorite auction draft strategies?
Absolutely. It's different sport by sport, but when it comes to fantasy football, and you can read the auction article that came out for the fantasy football draft guide for fantasyalarm.com as well. Ton of strategies there. But the biggest thing with the hammer is without so many positions to choose from, you could get caught up, and players who you're going against with a higher max bid can start bidding you up from the bottom up. And that's the problem with having the hammer. I used to be that guy. I used to think I was, like I say in the article, I used to think I was psyching my whole league out by waiting for the first hour, and then I'd miss out on key running backs. I'd miss out on elite wide receivers. And like Ryan was just saying, I wouldn't be happy with my team at the end of it. Plus, I'm freaking bored for the first hour of the auction by not placing any bids. So with that, that's why I think having the hammer for fantasy football isn't as advantageous as it is in fantasy baseball, especially, or fantasy basketball. Now, my strategy to all of you for auctions, one of my keys is put out players you don't want early.
Oh, yes.
I will always start, and in Pemba, you experienced this when we did a best ball auction recently. I will always put out the top defense on the board. If defense applies, I will always put that out first. At least in my leagues with home casual leagues, $6 to $7 off the board right away. Why?
Really?
Yes.
6 to 7 off the board.
That'll never work in a league with savvy people. If you do that in an industry draft, they're going to go for $1 or $2.
All right. So with FA Nation, it was 3 to 4 in that range. I believe it ended up being 3. So they didn't bite on it. But whatever. I just want to take money off the board. That's what the bottom line is. And I'm not going to just throw a player I absolutely want out there right at the start where everybody's eager to bid with their entire wad of fake cash. Instead, I'm going to start throwing out guys like, let's say, Travis Kelce, get 30 plus off the board right there. Cooper Kupp, get maybe 25, 30 off the board right there, maybe even a little bit more, depending on who loves Cooper Kupp in your league. Then once it's the middle, that's when I'll start under the radar, like throwing players out there that I like and want when I see money off the board.
Yeah, so I think that's a great strategy. Don't nominate players early that you absolutely want, because you want guys to spend their money and maybe forget about the Robert Woods you have in your pocket or the Marvin Jones Jr. So maybe you can get them for only a few dollars. Let them keep undercover, and don't don't nominate your targets necessarily very early. I like that strategy. John and Pimba, what's your favorite auction strategy?
I mean, mine is just about being prepared, and that's like make sure you stick to the dollar values that you'd set for players, so you're not caught in bidding wars, and then next thing you know, maybe you're spending more than you really wanted to or allotted for certain positions. So for me, it's making sure that you have the right tiers set up and the right dollar amounts for players or positions that you want allocated. So you can build the best overall team for yourself. Justin, again, in that draft that we did, I was sort of the bidding bully. I was constantly sort of $1 up people's bets, and I was getting some people that were in that draft ended up spending more than they wanted to. When all of a sudden I just turned the faucet off and stuck them with some players. Now, of course, there is a chance that I get stuck with those guys as well. But for me, I tend to try to stick with the budget on guys and make other people overbid on players that they may have wanted.
Funny, real quick off of that, trying to one up people. I ended up with, and it was not like it's bad. I ended up with Aroldis Chapman in labor, one upping somebody, and then I ended up, having him on my team for more than I wanted to spend for a closer. So you'd think I would have learned my lesson, but Tout Wars came around and I did the same thing, and I got hit with Aroldis Chapman again in that auction. So twice in a month, I tried to one-up somebody on a closer, the exact same closer, and ended up with him on both rosters.
So price enforcing, you have to be careful. That's the lesson, and I sometimes we see people that we think they should be going for more and then we bid, but you got to be sure that you really are okay being stuck with that player if you're going to try to price enforce. Adam, it's your turn. What is your best auction strategy?
One of the things I was going to say is, if you bid on a player, make sure you're comfortable winning him. Don't think like, I'm just price enforcing going up to 17. Someone's going to go 18. You better be comfortable with that guy on your roster at 17 because there's a chance you can get him. But I think you come in with a plan, but you got to be flexible. You got to be ready to pivot if that plan doesn't work. I went into labor, which was a 12-team auction, and I said, I'm going to spend on 4 players. I'm coming out of this draft with 4 big names. And I did. But I had to be prepared that if the prices went too high, that I'd have to go away from that. I came away with Trout, Betts, Lindor, and Degrom. So that was the plan, spend big on 4 players. And it's a 12-team league. There's going to be so much on the waiver wire. So just go in with a plan, but be flexible. Be ready to pivot. A lot of people, I know successful people who do auctions, what they do is they'll take the whole roster and go, all right, I'm going to spend about $30 on an outfielder. Here are the 3 or 4 teams I want. Then I'm going to spend $15 on the second out. And that's fine. You can do that. But you have to be ready to pivot if it doesn't work. And then you have to quickly say, all right, I didn't get the $30 outfielder. I got someone for $27. So now I'm going to take the $3 and where am I going to put it? And for some people, it might be too much because the auction does go fast. But if you're going to do that, you got to be ready to adjust on the fly.
That roster, Adam, you ended up getting a couple of extra really good bargains that really balanced that labor team out really well.
Clevenger at 16. I love that.
There was a couple others I remember. You got some really good bargains on top of those top 4 guys. Your team is pretty stacked in that one.
I remember that too.
It's a short season. I've said this numerous times. Justin knows, like, anything could happen this year. I mean, you could be a really good player and things flop because we just don't know what's going to happen. Anthony Rizzo said today he expects more players to back out of the season. I thought that was alarming, and that's someone that has to know something because he's talking to people. So that's the wild card that we have here this year. We just don't know who's going to get it, who's going to back out. Injuries are probably going to happen even more. I mean, these guys, we don't know what they've been doing for 4 months, especially pitchers. Now you got to ramp up, and now you got to go next week. So it's going to be a crazy season. So as good as your team looks on paper, it could quickly turn into garbage.
Well, let me ask you this. I've already been thinking about this. I think, I'm tending to want to bump up people like Sam Hilliard, people like Dylan Carlson, and Trent Grisham, because I feel like they have a lot of reason to play. And I know anybody can get ill, anyone can contract COVID, and they could be benched, but or on the IL. What do we call it? IL in baseball. But they're less likely to decide they just don't want to play because they have a lot of money, right? I mean, I have this fear that somebody that makes a whole lot of money that doesn't really need the money. Now, this isn't the case with Buster Posey because he had a very good reason with the adoption of his twins. But you look at someone like that, he has plenty of money. It's not a big deal. Ian Desmond, plenty of money in the bank. It's not a big deal for him to take the rest of the season off to ensure his family. But these young kids that are 21, 22 years old that have something to prove, that really need to get their toe in there to try to get their career started, I feel like I want to put a little more weight toward them because they're more likely to make sure they play and really try to earn the spot. Have you guys put any consideration in that? You think that's crazy?
I haven't, but I think it's a good thought. I would have thought people would have backed out by now if they were going to, but maybe they haven't. But yeah, I would think the guy making $600,000 a year is a lot less opt to, and fighting for a roster spot or a starting spot is going to be really busting ass trying to prove something this year. Sure,
that's kind of my thought.
This is the land of opportunity for them at this point. While for us as people who are covering sports, it's a very nerve-wracking time. For them, it's the opposite. They're always thanking God that this happened because now they get to maybe push themselves a year ahead of where they should be because other players are backing out. So it's weird how you take the pandemic and look at it from the positive side. If you're someone in the minors or if you're someone that's a rookie looking for more playing time, a utility option now could be a starter, even if it's for only 60 games.
Right. And I mean, like Spencer Howard, maybe he's going to be a starter. We weren't expecting that. I mean, there's a lot of things like that going on. And I think that's something to maybe keep in mind when you're doing your late round dart throws, that those guys may be worth the dart throw. What do you guys think about Yasiel Puig? Is anybody taking him? Does anybody care that he's in there?
I took him in the draft that already happened before he signed because I assumed he was going to go somewhere. So I got him pretty late. So I don't hate the fact that he ended up possibly, did he pass his physical yet? I know they're waiting on him to pass his physical to go to the Braves, but I think there's some upside opportunity there if he can find a role in that lineup.
Yeah, I mean, why not? But do you think that affects Austin Riley? Is anybody backing off Austin Riley? Does it change how you feel about any of the other Braves?
Well, I read that Riley could see time at first. That Freeman ends up missing time due to COVID. Apparently he was very sick. So I think they're going to figure out the rotation, and adding in that DH is going to help out with the rotation of players as well.
Rodas, didn't you say that he could hit cleanup potentially in that lineup?
Possibly, yeah. I think he could hit cleanup if you look at the top of the order with Acuna, Albies, Freeman when he's healthy. I think you could see Puig hit fourth. So I think it's a really good spot for him. And he obviously is playing for money as well. So I think it's a really good pickup for Atlanta, and I hate seeing it as a Mets fan.
Yeah. I think Nomar Mazara. Sorry, just blanked on. Ozuna. Ozuna is someone that I really think is going to want to play really hard this year as well, too, because of his contract. So there's a few people that I'm looking at that I think that they're going to be motivated to make sure they play and they play as well as possible, that I'm kind of upgrading a little bit in my drafts for Tuesday.
Just hope he wasn't eating all quarantine, Marcell Ozuna. Hasn't exactly been in the best of shape past year or so.
All I care is that he just hits a few long balls. That's all that matters.
He's got the body to DH that Ozuna, so,
He does. All right, guys. So this week there is big news. Patrick Mahomes did sign an extension, a massive extension that with incentives could earn him more than $500 million. I did not misspeak. $500 million. Is he worth it? Just straight up, is he worth it? Hallam, is he worth it?
I mean, the way quarterback contracts go, he's the next guy to get it. Sure, he led his team to the Super Bowl in the second year, so clearly he's a transcendent talent at this point. I mean, to me, I think what we've shown recently is NFL teams with the most success have quarterbacks that aren't really on the big contract yet. So I don't know long term how great this is for Kansas City. Hopefully, maybe he'll restructure like Brady did every year. But $45 million a year on your quarterback certainly hurts the cap.
Yeah. And Pemba, what do you think?
I mean, yeah, I think that the quarterback position is the most important position in football. If you're getting a young quarterback, the MVP level, Super Bowl champion already, lock him up for as long as you can. I mean, I'm not going to keep going back to New England Patriots here, but Tom Brady was there for 20 years, and they won a boatload of Super Bowls because of it. So I think if you lock down the right guy, your team's going to be in a lot of position to be successful for just as long.
Okay, well, let me ask you guys this. There's been a few big contracts in sports. I want you to tell me which contract, if you were a general manager, you would buy. Either Garrett Cole's, which is, I believe, $325 million for 9 years. He's 29 years old. Patrick Mahomes, which we just talked about, or Christian McCaffrey, which is a 4-year contract. Adam, who would you buy?
That's Mahomes. It's not even close. It's a quarterback that's 24 years old that you have around for a long time. Garrett Cole can break down. It's a pitcher. He can get hurt at any time. McCaffrey's a running back. We see how quickly they can fall apart, especially with his workload. I mean, he barely came off the field last year. Mahomes has already put up one ridiculous season in his first full season with 50 touchdowns. And even last year, I mean, he was banged up and he still had 26 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. So you got that franchise quarterback and you have him for a long time. So it's Mahomes.
Ben C, what about you?
Verbal retweet for Adam. And I'll just say this, as a Mets fan, giving pitchers that much money scares the crap out of me.
Yeah,
so I'm not
too.
going to do that. The McCaffrey deal is appealing because it's 4 years, but Mahomes won a title. And if you're going to give someone that much money, you're going to give it to a champion. Hoping you get another one.
All right. Ryan Helen, what do you think?
I hate to just go along with everybody, but I have to, yeah. Especially with football, there's always creative ways to get around contracts and out of contracts if something happens, which keeps me away from Garrett Cole. I mean, there's no salary cap in baseball, which makes it a little bit easier. But yeah, pitchers can fall apart real fast. Almost everyone gets Tommy John, so you can't argue with what you've seen from Mahomes through 2 years.
And no temptation to take McCaffrey because it's only 4 years and he's so young.
Yes, but man, there's so many good running backs. So their shelf life is short, and there's like 10 more good ones come out of college every year. So what are we going to drop $20 million on a guy for? Yeah, he's great, but man, give me somebody who's going to pay $2-3 million for and get me 75% of his production.
And the Panthers have won a lot of games with McCaffrey being great the last 2 years too. Let me add that.
Well, you got to build your franchise around somebody. I mean,
you do around the quarterback, and you build up.
Okay. So we're running the table. You believe Mahomes as well?
I do think it's Mahomes. Again, like I said, the most important position on the field, in my opinion, is a quarterback. Your franchise tends to go the way the quarterback position plays. There are a lot of teams in the NFL that haven't had a good quarterback, it seems like, in a decade. So for me, I think it's no question that you go Patrick Mahomes here. You pay the quarterback whatever amount of money you want. The NFL, they have a salary cap, but they can kind of be funny with the cap as well. They can turn guaranteed money into bonus money and all these things around to make the cap work. So for me, I'm not worried about the money. I'll pay the man as long as he's going to keep on playing. Maybe worth noting, just sidetrack, Derrick Henry apparently just reached an agreement with the Titans. So I'm seeing 4 years on that as well. No money yet, but seems like he's also about to get paid.
That's fantastic. It is franchise tag day, so I got to ask you, Adam Ronis, what's going to happen with Dak Prescott? Anything going to happen today?
Well, we got 6 minutes to the deadline. It doesn't feel like it's going to happen. So I hope that they figure this out because, Dak should be the guy for years to come. I know that he didn't play well against some of the playoff teams last year, but he stayed healthy and he's put up good numbers. I don't think he's the reason why they haven't won. So hopefully they can figure this out. So I guess he'll be on the franchise tag this year for about $31 million.
And do you guys think if Lamar Jackson goes to the Super Bowl this year, wins the Super Bowl this year, that he'll get a bigger contract than Patrick Mahomes? Just a simple yes or no. Helen?
I don't. I think it'll be lower than Mahomes.
I think it's always a one-up. So I could see him pitching out more.
Right? Fancy?
Similar. I think Mahomes still has the edge.
Okay. Ronis?
No, it'll be lower.
No. Okay. All right. We'll see. Good luck, Lamar. I hope you can do it. I love the healthy competition. All right, guys. Last question. It is the Show the Love episode, as I keep saying over and over again. I'm sure you're tired of hearing it. I want you each to show the love to one person that's helped you. This is kind of in honor of the Scott Fishbowl drafts. It's fans, it's experts working together, it's mentoring, it's fun, it's all goodwill, it's charity, it's everything. And so I want to take a moment for each of us to speak about someone that's helped us in our careers and give them a thank you. So I'm going to start with you, Justin Finsterman. Show someone the love today that once showed you the love.
Yes, and that someone is not here with us today. Unfortunately, he's still around, even though he thinks he won't be around for too much longer. But we all know, as you say constantly, Adam, that Howard Bender is going to outlive all of us. But now Howard Bender has always watched out for me from the second where he took a more prominent role in Fantasy Alarm about 3 years ago or so. He took me along with him, getting to produce with him, work on him with ideas, especially with where I'm at right now. The real brain trust behind the existence of Alarm After Hours wouldn't be that way if it weren't for him, and a lot of lengthy conversations we had. Always there to run ideas by, always there to mentor, and most importantly, just a very good listener and good guy. So Howard Bender gets my toast, as we say on Alarm After Hours, for this.
I'm going to verbal retweet that one as well for Howard Bender. I think we all feel that way about Howard Bender. John and Pimba, who are you showing?
Yeah, I guess we can just turn this into a Howard Bender love fest. That's fine.
No,
too.
I'm not doing that.
Me neither.
Right, well, Adam will have something else to say, but I mean, again, I started working at Fantasy Alarm like 6 or 7 years ago. I joined the News and Notes team, brand new team started by Fantasy Alarm. The person who headed that team up was Howard Bender. He was my boss all the way through, and pretty much time something went with him, he kind of brought me along with him, showed me the ropes, and I wouldn't be where I am today as managing editor at Fantasy Alarm if not for Howard's leadership and guidance. So shout out to Mr. Bender right there.
Howard's feeling very uncomfortable right now with all this niceness. It's a really good thing he isn't here. Ryan Hallam, I'm going to you next.
I think he sucked. No. The person to me who was the nicest to me and gave me a lot of opportunities when I first started was Steve Gardner of the USA Today. I was a one-person blog back then. USA Today was just kind of, starting with fantasy. And he gave me opportunity to write in the newspaper and be in mock drafts and be in a couple magazines. And he is just one of the nicest guys that I've met through the entire time. I finally got to meet him in February for the first time in person, which was awesome at Labor. So Steve Gardner to me was one of my first friends and one of my better friends, gave me some good opportunity. And since we're all doing the FA love, I'm going to give my FA shout out to Rick Wolf for, I was back as part of the team, but Rick was the man who kind of brought me into a bigger role and has me to where I am today. So forget Howard Bender. My toast is Rick Wolf.
One vote for Rick Wolf. And Adam Ronis?
For me, there's no one. Everyone has tried to knock me down. I've had to do all of this on my own.
Wow.
Nah, I'm just kidding. I have to go with Scott Engel because he's the one who gave me an opportunity to be on Sirius XM. I had joined Roto Experts, I think 2009, and they were getting the morning show in 2010, and it was supposed to be Scott Engel and someone else. And then that person bailed last second, so they were kind of panicking, and Scott's like, I think I have the guy, this guy Adam. So he gave me the opportunity, and that's kind of where I was able to show my abilities and get on the radio, which is something I always wanted to do. And it's helped me grow in the industry. So he gave me that opportunity. So unfortunately, I have to say something nice about him, which I don't like doing because I like taking shots at him. But got to be real here. He did give me that opportunity.
Scott Engel's a great guy. If you don't know Scott, follow him. He's a great guy in the industry. I have to echo everyone who's been saying Howard Bender, of course, someone that always supported me and encouraged me and brought me in.
Ooh,
and I have
this Howard, man. That's a different Howard. I've never been
You don't know him?
No.
Yeah.
He's
you never met him?
With me, we've just been battling each other verbally over the years. So I gotta find this Howard Bender character you're talking about.
Yeah, you guys, it's hilarious because, Adam only just met Howard Bender. They actually never worked together until recently. And the same for me, too, actually. And I remember when I first met Howard, over text, how nice Howard was. And I kept thinking, this guy is so nice. Is he for real? He's so nice. But that's not the experience Adam had, apparently. I also have to shout out to Rick Wolf. Rick Wolf, who I've played with for a few years now in fantasy leagues, came to me just under a year ago and said, hey, we'd like to see about having a female do some fantasy football streams. Would you be interested? And would you mind having an audition with Howard Bender? And then I got very nervous because that was the Howard Bender, the RotoBuzz guy. And as I said, Howard Bender was so kind to me. So those two guys for really believing me, bringing me into the family, and to all of you, because you let me preside over you today, which was awesome. This is my family. Ryan Hallam, John and Pimpa, Justin Finsterman, Adam Ronis. They are the best in the business. If you don't follow Fantasy Alarm, what is wrong with you? Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook. We're even on Twitch. We're here for you. We're on Instagram. We'll have clips for you there. We will write back to you if you have questions. Hang out with us. Join the family. And we will catch you next time.